Welcome to Ted's Tiny Trucks, and what we have here is the finished FJ40. So if I've got my editing right, you've probably just seen a minute or so's worth of footage of me applying hairspray over the rust coloured paint and then gonging a load of top coat over the top. And my original intention was to show me chipping the top coat off in the same way that I'd done the wheels. I used the same tools and the same method. Unfortunately my camera battery was flat by then. So I thought, well, I bunged the battery on charge and I figured I'd make a start on the body, as you do. Didn't want to waste any time. And the battery finished charging and I kept on weathering because I just got sucked into a groove. So I've ended up with a finished model. Doesn't help you lot view much really, to be honest. So I've got a bit of blue tack trying to keep the door shut there. But you can see where I ended up. The big difference between the weathering on the body and the weathering on the wheels is I used heavier top coat on the body and thinner coats of hairspray on the rust paint underneath. So the net result of that is I've got a much finer degree of chipping and a little bit more controllable, if I'm honest. So I'll flash some photos up now so that you can see the type of chipping that goes on the top coat, and it's easy enough to compare it to what's gone on the bumper at the same time. So when we chipped the bumper, there was not a huge amount of chipping going on. There was a lot of paint coming off, and we were controlling to some degree what I left in terms of white paint on there. The top coat's the other way around. More difficult to get the paint off with it being thicker, and as a consequence I've got a finer grade of chip, which suits me down to the ground, to be honest. It gives a subtle bit of variation between the two different paint colours. I can see an element of shading around some of the chipping as well, and that's just done with dry brushing. Ironically, actually, the colour used for this one is called coffee, so it's a very light brown, and it's just gently teased around some of the rust just to give us the impact of some staining. I mean, arguably when I look at the chipping, I do wonder whether I could do a two-step process next time. So paint the thing rusty brown as I did, hairspray, paint a top coat but a primer grey colour. So rather than use a primer, just match it with a top coat, so it's got less adhesive capabilities. Chip that off to reveal all the rust. Take good quality photos of top, bottom, all four sides, etc. Hairspray the grey and then apply a top coat, and then go back and chip the top coat, because I'm sure at that point we'll be able to fade the top coat, get chipping of the top coat with primer showing through, and then in some areas be able to go all the way through from top coat via primer down to the rust colour again. So I think that's got to be worth an experiment next time. And there's some various gouges and scratches on the model. These are just done with a sharpened cocktail stick, lightly moistened and then given a quick drag through, and some of the subtle rain streaks and everything else that are going on are just been done with pastels or weathering powders applied with a brush, and if they're a bit wide, come back with a thinner brush and just remove some of it. Just try and keep it fairly subtle. I'm not very good at subtlety normally, so I'm quite pleased I've exercised a degree of restraint on this one. Right, the windows are painted with a sand coloured wash, so it's made of paint, about 1 part paint, 3 parts water. Paint over the window, dry with a hairdryer, and that gives you a nice film across the glass. And use a cocktail stick then to create vertical streaks in it, and then go back over those streaks again with a paintbrush with, again, short bristles, fairly aggressive, and buff a great deal of it off, but leaving enough streaks in, and then go over the top of that whole lot with a sort of a dirty pastel colour, and that sort of gives a rain streaked effect with the build up on the glass, so you lose the transparency then. My original intention had been to do the classic windscreen wiper marks on the windscreen, but when you accurately trace the arcs scribed by the wipers as modelled and positioned, you end up with two completely separate arcs that don't join, and it didn't look right. It doesn't seem to match what the real car does, so I'm not sure where the error is really. So as a consequence, I just treated the windscreen the same as I treated everything else. Interior wise, very crude. Seats black, pedals black, steering wheel black, black door cards, everything else beige. Job done. It's going to spend its entire life with the door shut. I didn't really want to go overboard. You can see some of it through the window. I mean, retrospectively, if I'd been paying enough attention, it would have been nice to have at least cut side windows out and maybe done a half-height window in here. But hey, we're good enough. It was primarily an experiment in checking whether my weathering techniques have carried over from the smaller models and playing around with sort of gauge 1 railways at 1/32 scale. Playing with these at 1/12 is sort of a threefold increase in size. Actually, the technique seems to have held itself together fairly well, certainly enough to use. Retrospectively, I think I could probably improve the application a bit, but I can't be despondent with how it's come out. The one job I do need to do is actually just put a matte coat of varnish on the roof. That had been shot with some Tamiya white paint, and despite rubbing it back with a bit of Scotch-Brite and some light weathering, it's still got a bit of a sort of a semi-gloss sheen to it, which is rather at odds with the body and the tarred effect I've got on that. Yeah, you can see the rather crude number plate that I built up from stickers in the kit. I mean, the only stickers I've had to use are for the rear lights and the number plate. The number plate, I just figured it was better to have something than nothing, but I think I might just give it a slight wash later, just tone it down a bit. I mean, they're not brilliant by any stretch of the imagination, but they're a lot better than having nothing at all. So at least it adds something to the model then. I mean, overall, I think I'm very pleased with it. It looks good. The body is a work of art, and I have to say, I discovered today that I probably, with a bit of searching around on eBay, I found a ready-to-run version. So for about £45, I have to say, given that you could buy that, take the body off, do this kind of work, stick it back together again, for the odd bit of driving around, actually that probably wouldn't have been a bad idea. However, it was fun having built it. I've learned a bit. It's a bit fun, the internals and of the drivetrain and stuff are definitely stronger with this one. It's got a better motor, better diff gears, etc. So I dare say if I end up managing to squeeze batteries and what have you under the bonnet, it won't be doing just 5 minutes around, because it does look nice. So it would be nice to put it in some form of scale environment and take it for a spin. You have to excuse the poor man Lazy Susan. It's just one of my airbrushing bases, but I figured it was easier to do this than constantly sit there and throw the model around with all the resulting noise and awkwardness. So I think, the only other thing I've done since the wheel thing was paint the hubs black in the centre. Makes them look a lot better. And that's it, really. I don't think there's anything else to say. Good fun. Invariably I think I'll do a quick update when I've got some form of electrics in it and it works, and then we'll take it outside for some shots. Thank you for watching.